One could argue that an animated movie takes a lot more effort than a live-action one. After all, in a live-action movie, you just have to tell an actor to emote, and the actor emotes. You just capture it on film. But in an animated feature, doing something as simple as making a character frown involves a multitude of drawings. In my opinion, though, both mediums have their own unique challenges. For example, in an animated movie, you can simply draw the environment. But if you're making a live-action movie, the set has to be created from scratch. God help you if the set you created needs to be destroyed in an action scene. Not only is it painful to watch something beautiful that took months to make get destroyed in seconds, but if something goes wrong, you have to recreate the set all over again, and the budget balloons. So, logically speaking, the most lucrative and hardest ordeal is probably to combine live action and animation in a single movie. This may not be a unique concept now, but back in the 80s, this was a Herculean effort. There were efforts here and there. For instance, there's a brief sequence in Mary Poppins where the actor Dick Van Dyke dances next to animated penguins. But to make an entire movie about real actors interacting with animated characters? It must have sounded insane back in the day. But this is exactly what Robert Zemeckis did in his 1989 classic, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? One of the best things about Roger Rabbit is seeing most of the popular cartoon characters at the time in the same movie. Yes, they were guest appearances, but even today, the idea of Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Donald Duck sharing the screen is considered virtually impossible. And yet, the creators navigated all the copyright, budgetary, and contractual obligations just so they could entertain you for about 100 minutes. So I have immense respect for this movie. By focusing on an original animated character, the creators are free to do whatever they want with the character, including have him consume alcohol. If you're under the impression that animation is just for children, I'm sure your ear just perked up. A cartoon character consuming alcohol? But the fact is, it didn't used to be this extraordinary. In the 1940s, we had cartoon characters that used to smoke and drink. But somewhere down the line, the belief spread that animation is for children. But that isn't the case, and this movie proves it. The movie never treats its universe as a joke. The cartoon characters blend seamlessly into the scenes, and their interactions with live-action characters is seamless. The creators had to use reference objects so the actors would know where they should look and what they should interact with. This allowed the animators to understand how lighting would work as well. First, they shot the scene, then it was up to the animators to take a single frame of the movie and draw the animated character for that one frame. Now, the frame rate of the movie is 24 frames per second. That would mean that for 1 second of a scene, there would be instances where the animators would have to make 24 drawings for 1 second. And the movie is about 100 minutes long. Now, most scenes include an animated character. This is just to give you an idea about the effort that went into the movie and why this movie is so special. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is targeting an older audience. There are instances of cursing in the movie, and as I mentioned before, smoking and alcohol. There's also some, well, you take one look at the character of Jessica Rabbit and you'll know what I mean. She's a seductive femme fatale who isn't afraid to show some skin. So parental guidance when watching the movie is highly recommended. The story is pretty straightforward. It's about a private detective, Eddie Valiant, played by Bob Hoskins, who's investigating the murder of a man named Marvin Acme, the owner of Toontown, where all the cartoon characters live. He supposedly left a will behind, but it goes missing. What's worse, the cartoon character Roger Rabbit is framed for the murder of Acme. Will Valiant catch the real killer and find the missing will in order to save Toontown? Not only do we have smooth animation throughout the movie, which is sometimes coupled with camera movement no less, but the performances from the actors is also phenomenal. Bob Hoskins plays the straight man perfectly. No matter how weird or unusual the situation, Hoskins is completely able to sell the lie that this absurdity is completely normal in his world. There are scenes where he is lost in thought or remembering the good old days before everything went wrong. And if you were to put these scenes in a completely serious crime thriller, they would feel right at home. Alternatively, Christopher Lloyd has no problem playing the completely over-the-top and loud but charismatic character of Judge Doom. You can tell that Lloyd is having lots of fun playing Judge Doom, and because of this, the audience ends up having a good time too. The voice cast also deserves heaps of praise for this movie. People underestimate how difficult voice work is. The voice actor has to make the audience believe that the voice they're hearing belongs to the character they're seeing, and not some real person in a voice booth. And not once in the entire movie would you find a phoned-in performance. Even the minor animated characters are voiced professionally and with passion. Charles Fleischer is appropriately high-pitched and loud as Roger Rabbit, who is clumsy, naive, and kind of less than intelligent. Kathleen Turner as Jessica Rabbit talks in a truly seductive voice that goes perfectly with the character. And Gilbert Gottfried as the animated car is just being Gilbert Gottfried, but he's able to perfectly capture the sarcastic and frustrated car. Now, that being said, the movie is not perfect, but I only have minor nitpicks. As an example, there's a scene in the movie where Eddie Valiant reveals that he's been carrying animated and sentient bullets with him, and they get quite a bit of build-up when they're revealed, but in the end, they really don't end up doing anything in the movie. That being said, the movie takes full advantage of its animated format. The idea of casting actual cartoon characters we know and love was genius, because it brings that world just a little closer to our own reality. Also, there are some amazing gags. For example, there's a scene later in the movie where an animated car is driving an actual car. The joke practically writes itself. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a landmark movie that is creative, fun, and a blast from start to finish. It flawlessly incorporates some of the humor from the classic Disney and Warner Brothers cartoons to pay homage to the characters that continue to make us laugh decades later. Even though this is the only major appearance of the character Roger Rabbit, the legacy his movie left behind is legendary unto itself. So give it a watch. It'll be some of the best 100 minutes of your life that you will be spending.